Hello everybody and welcome to Offhand Ideas. I'm still looking for that mic. It's killing me. I'll find it sometime soon. I don't know where it is. I just got home from camping and yeah. But I've thrown on the formal attire today to discuss a noble matter. Why Riggy the Runky is actually Sentry. So, this is my first Toon Turf theory. If you want more of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and let's get into this wild theory I have on why Riggy the Runky is the Sentry from Thunderbolts. And so, if you haven't watched Thunderbolts or Toon Turf, let me give you a quick description of both. Thunderbolts is a Marvel's shot at an A24 movie about depression with some lovable Suicide Squad-like characters, and Toon Turf is basically one of the things I built my entire channel off of. Toon Turf is Dan O'Callahan's gift to the internet, Riggy the Runky's magnum opus, and his origin story. So, yeah, the main plot of the first one revolves around Riggy going to Toonville, but there's a lot more lore in Dan O'Draws' shorts based off of that premise. So, let's just jump right into the theory. So, the supplies you're gonna need for this theory today is this Toon Turf doodle book, because, believe it or not, it actually helps with some lore. You're also going to have to watch the Dano shorts that I'm going to put up here and some in the end card. I will link all of those shorts down in the description, and Dacha's short on Shadow Riggy. If you don't want to watch any of those, go watch Toon Turf and support Dano. So, just those who are still here after that massive audience shipping, let's begin the theory. So, why I believe Riggy the Runky is Sentry, because let's just dive into the character of Sentry and relate him to Riggy the Runky. Sentry is so known as Bob Reynolds. Sentry is basically just a normal guy who volunteered for the Sentry program to get superpowers, and with those superpowers, because Bob has depression, it comes with a tiny dark side of him called the Void. And the Void, if Rob loses control of his powers, the Void can take over and basically can shadow anyone in New York. And shadowing basically means putting you in your worst state of mind, being your worst moments in life. Like, if the shadow shadowed me, I would go back to Santa Cruz in 2024. If it shadowed Mark, my dog character up here, he'd go back to the salt mines of 2001. So you get the gist. Just think of your worst memory and the Void will take you there. So, yeah, Riggy the Runky is Riggy the Runky. He's an adventurous soul, and from what we see in the first episode of Toon Turf, he's quite new to this whole gig. And after the factory burned down and after Billy the Beaver died, I have a bit for this. After Billy the Beaver died, Riggy is quite depressed. It's okay, little guy. No one's gonna hurt you. After Billy's death, Riggy is seen going back to his house, turning on the news, and crying excessively because he's depressed that his friend died. This, in my opinion, is the beginning of Riggy's depression arc, because this is where we get into theory territory. I believe the next episode of Toon Turf is going to open on Billy's funeral, and that is all where a ton of things are going to happen. He's inevitably going to meet Rosie there, and he's also probably going to get the driving force to take revenge on Lucky in whatever way he does. But that's for a future video altogether. What I really want to reel into is our first reference, and is that in the time traveling short video that Dano made, Riggy's future self flashes this onto the time machine. Read it at your own pace, but the basics are that Lucky's way was right. What does this mean? Well, what I think it means is Lucky's way of covering up Billy's death was just to cover it up and have everyone move on, and to let Riggy go, just because he doesn't want any stain on his legacy. That's his way of moving on from Billy's death. Riggy, however, wants to avenge Billy due to his depression, and this is where we get into the Shadow. So the Shadow is someone Dano, even in the Rumble Pack interviews, has said and restricted the topic of the Shadow when people are talking to him about Toon Turf. So that leads me to believe there's going to be a big plot point or twist involving the Shadow in Toon Turf. Let's go to the Dano shorts of Riggy's greatest enemies, and the Shadow is one of them. But Riggy said no, he's not real. And then Dano says after that, real or metaphorical. What could this mean? What I think he means by that, after I left the comments trying to get some words out of Dano, metaphorical. Interesting. Could you please explain, Dano? I didn't get a response. Pretty please? I bought your merch, please. And this could mean that he's not a real person. Let's keep in mind, the Shadow doesn't appear in full full Runky form when Riggy is on screen. He only is in full physical Runky shadow form when Riggy is not on screen. This leads me to believe that the shadow is Riggy, but when he's depressed or gets too depressed, and what I mean by that is when he thinks of Billy, the shadow will begin to take over, and the shadow is going to start causing the fire that we see at the beginning, because Riggy isn't in control of his own mind anymore. It's the shadow forcing him to do it under the guidelines of just making him relive his horrible memories to let the shadow have control of his mind. And in this case, that would be Billy's death. So what's my other reference for this? I'm talking about both those shorts, maybe not enough for you. So now time on to the official Toon Turf Doodlebook. I'm gonna put you down now, Billy. I highly recommend you get this book, or at least give it a read if you're not going to draw on this, but the thing I want to reference, basically, is this page. It's near the end of the doodle book, but that doesn't mean it doesn't hold some interesting lore. It's basically a whole page based off of a shadow. I see you is seen at the top. Creator doesn't like you. The creator could be referring to Dano. Always watching. Always watching could mean he's always watching every decision Riggy makes from inside his head, but repressed. Out of place. He's saying that Riggy is out of place and that he should have control of his mind. Brought here. He could be brought into reality through Riggy because only one soul can be at the top of one's mind. And he's brought into Riggy's mind out of depression. Wherever you go, I think he's trying to say, I will stay. Wherever Riggy goes, the shadow will stay in his mind every time he gets depressed and he gets the voice and saying maybe that it's your fault about Billy. You should give me control. And once he does give the shadow control, but what I can theorize would happen is something similar to what happened at the beginning of Toon Turf episode 1 with the purple flame. And another one is save the page. Save this page. Why does the shadow want Riggy to save this page? Because I think the shadow is trying to warn Riggy of this is who he really is, and to stop suppressing the shadow. He should embrace it. And Clone Riggy. I don't know why he's mentioning Clone Riggy, and you might say this may be a Shorts Wars reference. I don't think so. I think he is just saying I am a clone of Riggy, not any references to Clone Riggy, but maybe it could be and I'm just stupid. Lucky Ruby. What could this mean? Maybe Ruby, the rabbit we see at the beginning of episode 1, could be involved in this somehow and be involved with Lucky. I have no way of knowing. Maybe the shadow is trying to warn Riggy not to trust Ruby and instead trust Rosie because he will be betrayed. Good cause. I think the shadow is trying to say that all of this, what he's trying to do, is for a good cause. And older Riggy, from the short I talked about earlier, knows this and is trying to warn younger Riggy, but younger Riggy doesn't know if he should accept the voices, so he is hesitant to accept. And the thing is, what will be the time he accepts these voices? Or will it all be too late? That's the question. Off the page. This means pretty much that Riggy's off the page, and this guy is off the page too. Meaning that this isn't a page, this is the shadow's mindset. And the monsters is the last thing we see on this page. The monster. Who could they be? My best guess is the thing we saw on Riggy's community post, where he posted before the show release a quote, which I'll put on screen here. It is very interesting, but I think the people that are by the shadow, because the shadow is in this post, are the typical monsters. And if the shadow is unleashed, the monsters will come with him. How? I have no way of knowing. And yeah, that is the last page. And Dano asks Riggy, well, what the hell was that? Riggy says, I don't know. Here's a drawing of my pig though. I think Riggy is playing dumb. I think he knows that the shadow is in his mind. Yeah, this pretty much relates to Sentry in the way that the void is repressed in his mind unless he lets it take over. Pretty similar to how Shadow's relationship is with Riggy. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and tell me down in the comments if you guys think this theory is legit or false. I'd really love to hear your thoughts. And yeah, hope you liked this video, and as always, subscribe!